Hello again. The war in the Middle East has demonstrated precisely why the present government is run by irrational ideologues. We need a lot of natural gas to produce electricity in Britain. This generates, by the way, 3 times as much power as all the wind farms put together. We also need it for our boilers and so on, and our gas cookers. We need oil for our cars as well, and also for industry. Instead of producing these raw materials in our own territory, the North Sea, we have closed down production there and chosen to rely instead upon importing them from one of the most unstable parts of the world, the Middle East. The gas we use to generate electricity, heat our homes, and cook our food is bought from places like Qatar, which is a short distance from Iran. Last year, our imports of liquefied natural gas rose by over 40%. Now, Qatar says that they have halted production of natural gas and no more will be exported for the time being. This will inevitably drive up our gas bills and make it more expensive to fill our cars with fuel. There are, of course, vast reserves of both oil and gas in the North Sea, which is simply there for the taking. Britain could be self-sufficient if we only drilled for these substances. That is before we even think about fracking on land. Instead, a deliberate policy has been enforced of buying those things abroad from countries like Qatar, which are very vulnerable to any disturbance in the Middle East, which is not an uncommon state of affairs there. The reason for this madness is, of course, the desire to halt global warming by not burning fossil fuels anymore, the so-called net zero project. This might, for all I know to the contrary, be a worthy ambition, but while we are seeking to achieve it, I cannot for the life of me see why we should in the meantime be shipping natural gas from Qatar instead of pumping it here from our own territory. Even if you're fanatically committed to achieving net zero, it still makes no sense at all to be shipping liquefied natural gas thousands of miles to use in our cookers rather than taking advantage of the stuff on our very doorstep. This is, of course, why the price of gas is so high in this country and why it is likely to increase dramatically in the coming months. This is just a small example of how our present government seems determined to make our lives more difficult than they need to be. We could be enjoying cheaper gas and electricity than, well, cheaper than most countries in Europe. But instead, by pursuing ideology rather than pragmatism, our bills are much higher. The current war in the Middle East might have been unpredictable, but that there would sooner or later be a war in that region was not. Our dependence on gas from Qatar is a result of an unbelievably short-sighted, some would say idiotic, policy.